Hello, Red Wave. The Calebs are back in action after a month-long break. We are live on YouTube and Twitter. So if you don't follow us on YouTube, make sure you get over there. Follow us, Beware Bulldogs, and we're on Twitter, Beware_Bulldogs. While people get into the chat, Caleb, because I'm doing a poor job of scheduling this in advance, so I was not able to get this out to you guys earlier for the YouTube crowd. But while they're coming in, Caleb, tell us, what have you been up to for the past month?
Well, it's been kind of a nice month, celebrating Christmas and New Year's and, getting things ready around the house for a new member of Beware Bulldogs that are joining us here shortly. So, yeah, it's just been kind of laying low and recharging and getting ready for some sleepless nights coming up here. But, yeah, overall it's been nice. And unfortunately, watching some Fresno State basketball, that has been pretty awful. We'll touch on that later. But, I'm glad to be back and glad that we have some football news. A little late, but some football news that we can talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot going on right now. We have recruiting in the football world. We're going to touch on it. We have transfers coming in, coming out. We'll talk about that. We got to talk about the past month and what happened, because since we've been gone, we had New Year's, or we had Christmas, we had New Year's, then we had national championship, and then there was last week, and now it's today. We got a lot to touch on. And so we're going to talk about the coach from Fresno that is making waves throughout the nation right now. That's Coach DeBoer. And we'll talk, like you said, basketball. And the ladies in the pool they made some noise this past weekend. So we got to talk about them and give them a shout out when we get there. All right. Shall we get started, Caleb? I think we do this. Let's talk football first and the recruiting world. So we are a little late, I know, but Fresno State has, for the most part, signed the class of 2024. 16 players signed their letter of intent and 2 players transferred in. This all coming after the news of Jeff Tedford struggling with his health and not making the trip to the bowl game. So to see these transfers still commit after going through the recruiting process, still transfer, who knows what they know? I don't know what they know, but us not knowing about Coach Tedford, this coaching staff was still able to recruit, I would say, at a high level and bring in players and transfers. And at the same time, keep players here. Just quickly, we're going to run through the players, but quickly overlooking the class, Caleb. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is just the fact that the class stayed together, and especially, like you mentioned, with the uncertainty around the coaching staff and what's going to happen with Coach Tedford and his health. The fact that the coaches that are building and maintaining the relationships with these guys, they were able to keep selling Fresno State on these guys, whether or not Tedford's going to be that guy. So I think that speaks volumes to the way that the assistant coaches are able to develop and maintain these relationships. So I think that's huge. And still definitely some needs on this team. Offensive line, there are a couple of reinforcements coming in. Hopefully, I don't know if they are going to be immediate fixes, but overall, very pleased that it just didn't crumble, because I know we're seeing schools all over the place that are just being decimated. Coach leaves, whole team portals. So I mean, it's could be much worse for Fresno State, and so I think that we are in a good spot heading into spring workouts, and I'd expect more maybe portal additions, once, spring ball is kind of underway and players are getting a feel for where they might be on the depth chart.
I agree. So when it comes to those 16 players signed, just so you guys know, 2 receivers, 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 defensive backs, and 6 athletes. That's your breakdown. And then 14 of them from the state of California. And one of the big things that I noticed, Caleb, was that the amount of kids from the Central Valley in this recruiting class is crazy. There's a ton. I will run through them right now, Caleb, and then we can talk about them individually, or you can pick out the ones you want to highlight. Starting with Demarion White from Granite Hills, out of El Cajon, California. Marshall Sanders from Clovis West. Logan Stute, I should say their positions too. Marshall Sanders is an athlete, but he played both ways, I believe, at Clovis West. I don't quote me on this, but I believe he's coming in as a wide receiver. But who knows?
Yeah, that's my understanding right now. But that could always change once he gets in the building and they assess what the needs are on the team.
Yeah, talk to Aaron Mosby about that. Marion White comes in as an edge rusher. Logan Stute comes in from Buchanan, linebacker. Marcel Atkins, El Diamante from Visalia, offensive tackle, 6'5", 265. That's what we like to see. Titus Kajavi, linebacker from Clovis West. Loyal Muzan from Milliken Long Beach. He comes in as an athlete. These next 4 athletes. Keontre Harris from Lemoore. Bryson Donaldson, CVC's coming in as an athlete. But we know he tore it up at CVC as running back. And I've also been told that, what's up, Bob? Good to see you and good to hear from you. Hope everything's going well in your world. I also know that Bryson Donaldson, I believe, is going to be playing golf for the CVC golf team.
Nice. Hey, I mean, these days, more players are specializing, but there is value of being a multi-sport athlete. So that's definitely not a combination you see, but that's cool.
If I'm going to tell my son, look, if you are not going to play baseball, please play golf. You have to play golf. And then you better go get a job that can support that hobby.
Exactly.
Yeah. Last, there's 2 more athletes in this class. Jordan Malauulu from Long Beach Poly and Jordan Piero, another Clovis West player. We are finishing out that Clovis West pipeline. We have Ethan Dossman from Oak Ridge. He's an offensive lineman, 6'5", 280. Auckland Asiata from Sutter. He's an edge rusher, 6'3", 240. Kieran McCune, wide receiver, 6 foot, 170 from Monterey Peninsula College. Jace Nixon from Liberty Bakersfield, tight end. Well, Lord forgive me on this one. Reyes Grimes from Castile, Queen Creek, Arizona, safety, 5'11". It's nice to see a safety in there. And Jakari Embry, cornerback from Golden West College in Huntington Beach. So those are the guys that have committed, not counting our transfers. We'll get to our transfers in a sec. 247 Sports has them ranked all as 3 stars, Caleb, all of them. But is there anyone that stands out to you? Maybe it's a position player in this class that you want to bring up and talk about?
Well, I mean, the highest rated guy, I believe it's Demarion White on coming in as an edge rusher, which I think is a need for Fresno State. We noticed this season, without having David Perales in there to be able to just make a difference on his own and be able to absorb a double team, there's a need for a dominant edge rusher. So hopefully that's a guy that can step in and create some immediate impact there. And same thing. Hoping with one of the transfers that Fresno State picked up, it could be a big impact player. And then besides that, it seems like I'm liking that it's a pretty good distribution of the different position groups. So offensive tackle Marcel Akins, local product out of Visalia. Hopefully that's a player that Fresno State and new offensive line coach Matt Smith can develop into a top tier anchor for Fresno State offensive line, because Lord knows we need help on the O line. So those are 2 guys that that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fun to see all the skill position players, like the athletes coming in. Hey, bud, you'll be okay. Don't worry. I left the door open and the little guy's running around now. And I know he wants to be on camera, but I won't let him. Hold on. Give me 1 second as I mute myself and get this guy all right. Okay. Stay there, bud. All right. Yeah, the athletes I'm excited about. I mean, we're wide receiver U, and a lot of those athletes are going to come in as wide receivers, and I think they're going to make a huge impact on this team. I am a little worried, though, that there's not going to be enough room for all of them, but I'm still excited to see all of them. 2 offensive linemen. I'm with you. I really want to see development there because we haven't seen a ton. And some big defensive players. And I think, of course, the big name is Donaldson that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So, and I think the Valley is excited about Donaldson as well. The people I've been talking to, they're really excited. This local kid's going to be playing running back, and he's had success here in the Valley. So, I'm excited. I'm excited for this whole class. When we get to the transfer scale, let's talk about transfers real quick.
Mm-hmm.
As I pull it up, we had the 5-star from USC edge rusher Corey Foreman, and the 3-star Jairus Satelli D lineman from San Jose State transfer in. What are your thoughts on those guys that are coming in?
Well, like I said, we really need some depth on the D line. I think a big boy in the middle like Satelli looks like he's going to be able to be. I think that's huge. We're losing Johnny Hudson out of eligibility, but also bringing back a couple of guys that are playmakers. I mean, we really like what we've seen from Jacob Holmes and Gabriel Lightfoot, but to have another guy that's able to rotate in, I think is crucial because you want those guys to be fresh during the game, and especially, someone that has some Mountain West experience, I think is going to be important with depth there. And yeah, Foreman, a lot of hype there. And I know that it's easy to get caught up and think, oh, this guy's going to be a stud. And I mean, he did make some plays for USC, very highly regarded, but you just got to wonder, how is that going to transfer to the Mountain West? Fresno State's D-line coach, I think, is one of the best, especially in our conference for sure. So plenty to learn from coach there, but how much is he going to want to work and prove himself just because he has taken a step down? So is he able to swallow his pride and go to work and try to earn a spot on this team? I think that's something that we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, I've heard rumors, not sure if they're true, but does Corey have the drama coming with him? Does he leave that in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Is he willing to work hard and play like a bulldog, especially as an edge rusher, where we've seen, we've had success in the past on the edge. We have guys go to the NFL that are there right now. So I think there's huge opportunity for Corey, and I hope he takes advantage of it. I don't know much about Satelli, but I'm excited to see the depth there at the D-line because we need that with these guys leaving.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the guys leaving from Fresno State? So Logan Fife transfers out, commits to Minnesota, then decommits. And where's he going? Montana now?
Montana, yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on? Well, I'll keep going. Then we have Trey Watson. He's leaving. He committed to Washington. DeBoer leaves. Then he decommits and goes to Texas A&M. So now he's at Texas A&M, and I believe another name that maybe some people will know is Krishawn Gordon, who played in the secondary, played safety, a little bit of safety. He's transferring, or he's in. I don't know if he's committed anywhere right now. I haven't checked.
Yeah, I haven't seen him committed anywhere. Also had Ray Scott, Portal. He's going over to James Madison, which
Right.
They had a really good season this year, but their head coach left to Indiana. So we'll see what kind of rebuild what's happening there. and Abe Montano portaled down to the Aztecs, which is it's always tough when it's a in conference transfer. But I do like Abe, and I do wish him well down there.
Yeah, it's it always hurts to see guys leave, but I understand this year. I understand why guys left.
Mm-hmm.
I do, mainly because of playing time, and in Trey Watson's case, the lack of targets. I get it. Like we talked about it every week. We want to get the ball to Trey Watson. It just wasn't getting there. And if your goal is to get to the NFL, you need the ball in your hands. So, I'm happy for the guys. I hope they do well. I wish they would have done well for us next year, but it's all right. We have plenty of guys coming up, waiting in the wing. They're going to have an opportunity to kick some butt next year. So I am excited about that.
It will be interesting to see at Texas A&M with potentially a Jalen Henderson at quarterback thrown to Trey Watson, two guys that were DeBoer recruits that DeBoer brought in and kind of fit his system, and it'll be funny if they end up tearing it up, and those are a couple of guys that just couldn't fit in the Tedford system. So that would be frustrating, but also shows DeBoer does know how to evaluate and identify talent.
And I one of the guys he's had me on his show, Tim Bailey, he said that DeBoer isn't a good recruiter, and I had to fight back on that. I guess this gets us into our DeBoer talk. So DeBoer is now the head coach at Alabama, which is huge, especially for Sioux Falls to Fresno State, or Indiana's Fresno State, Washington, bouncing everywhere. I'll get your comments on that, Caleb, and your opinion on all of that. Gosh, where was I going with this? Anyways, back to Trey Watson and those guys. They're going to get a shot at DeBoer now. He recruited them. He did a great job. And now we're going to see what he can do at Alabama. And I'll be cheering for Watson and Henderson to take it to DeBoer. Well, what are your thoughts on DeBoer signing at Alabama? Because in all honesty, Caleb, I don't get it. I get the part that it's Bob says, don't waste your breath on DeBoer. Well, I want to get Caleb's opinion on this, and I'll tell you mine. Why sign for Alabama? It's a great football school, or it was because of Saban, but you're at Washington competing for a national championship. You're already making millions of dollars. What could you possibly want that's in Alabama? More money? You're already getting paid a lot of money.
Well, I think NFL so. Talent. I'm looking at it this way. Would you rather rebuild at Alabama or rebuild at Washington? Because if you look at how much Washington was going to lose, regardless of whether DeBoer was staying there or not, most of their offensive production was leaving. A couple of their offensive linemen were out of eligibility, possibly going to the NFL. So it was going to be a significant offensive rebuild at Washington. So I think I'd rather have the Alabama resources. And even though much tougher competition and you got to fill in for a legend, which is very difficult, but I think I'd rather have that starting block. You know what? At least I'm at a legendary program with unlimited resources. I think I would take that, because to win at Washington is still difficult. And plus they're going to the Big Ten, tougher competition. And, it's going to be a difficult road for Jed Fish now taking over to try to keep that rebuild going. So I think, DeBoer has hopped his way from job to job now, but successfully. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And if he gets fired in 2 years, that's a very nice payday still that he's taken home. So,
yeah, and I agree that, there's something to be said about an easier rebuild. I think that you have something established in Washington, though. Mm-hmm. Now guys were committed to Alabama before Saban, they're going to go other places now. And I don't think players are going to commit to Bama just because it's Bama. These kids now know, yeah, there are resources, but it's DeBoer's team, things like that. DeBoer had his thing going in Washington, and I think he had a lot of pull, especially after the success of Penix and Roma Dunze and national championship game. He could have found success either way. Bulldogs Bob says, maybe he hit his ceiling in Washington. Possibly. Maybe I do think that there was more to come for DeBoer in Washington. I think they were going to start getting players and things like that. You probably could you're competing with Oregon for those best players up in the north there. Also, I was at the Pag Meter Showcase and I was talking to guys about it, and they're saying, the Pacific Northwest or Tuscaloosa, like live on the beach or Tuscaloosa. I've never been to Tuscaloosa or where Washington is right there on that river, whatever that is on the beach. So I can't say, but I hear it's beautiful up there.
Beautiful and rainy.
Yeah, true. Like all day today. Could not believe it. What's up, Chris? And I also saw Kevin in here. He saw his first water polo game today, this weekend as they beat Michigan. Yeah, we're going to get there in a second. Girls smoked everybody. Washington's in Seattle. Got it. Okay. There's parts of Seattle I might want to stay away from, but I hear it's pretty nice. All right, Caleb, you talked about basketball. Basketball teams been struggling. Cole and I have been talking about it. I didn't get to watch the game against Utah State because I was watching high school basketball. By the way, some very good high school teams out there this year. It was a lot of fun. And the big game was Modesto Christian versus San Joaquin Memorial. Good game. There's a lot of talent. And there was other talent across the board in these schools. Corcoran has a good basketball team, a legit basketball team this year. And they have two big boys that can play and a guard that can really play. Kingsburg and Sierra played against each other. They were we got to go Panthers in the chat. They did lose, unfortunately. Sorry. The Sierra kid passed 3,000 points. The first player ever to score 3,000 points in the CIF. He's no bigger
so
than you.
If we're talking local high school basketball, are there any players locally that maybe you've seen or know about that could make a difference for Fresno State? Because this team just doesn't have it. And so is that even a realistic option to, try to find some local kids?
100% every year, no matter how good the team is, no matter how bad the team is, there should be at least one kid in the Valley that's going to Fresno State. And we have it. There's tons of kids that can play ball. And especially this team, you need a lights out shooter. They're here. There's a lot of players here that can do that. You want a player that is scrappy and just can play good defense. They're here. You just got to get them on a weight set. This is fine. Drink a couple beers. That's what don't tell anybody I said that, but drink a 6-pack and go to the weight room and you'll put on weight quick. So it's here. Central Valley has good basketball. It was a great event. We had a lot of fun. And there was good basketball being played. But talk to me about this Utah State game, man. What did you think? So you got to go. Actually, you went to the home game that
I did. Yes,
I missed.
I did see the Bulldogs' first conference victory, which was good. Fresno State was evenly matched with San Jose State. I'll say that, like similar caliber, and I think playing at home probably had a little bit of a difference. And being without our head coach, maybe that's a positive. But the guys, at least on Tuesday against San Jose State, they seem looser. Maybe because there wasn't really anything coming from the sideline. I mean, there wasn't really any coaching. They were just kind of letting them play. So I guess when you're 8-10, then just let them play. I mean, it's not going to get much worse. So it was good. And I mean, an all-time performance from Isaiah Hill, just, scoring, assists, defense, and hitting a buzzer beater at the buzzer. So it was a really fun game and more points than Fresno State usually scores. So it was a lot of fun and just back and forth game. The environment, very questionable. I mean, there was maybe 20 kids in the student section. I mean, no real crowd interaction unless they were giving away porta subs or some pizza. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how they're going to be able to recruit when there really isn't that much of a presence at the home games. And so not that the fans are the reason or the main support for recruiting, but it definitely has to help when there's just a rocking arena and fans that are going to make a difference, especially if the opponent's shooting free throws or trying to do something late in the shot clock. Having the home court advantage makes a difference. So Fresno State's definitely lacking that, which is not a good thing. But I'll let you jump in if you have any comments on San Jose, because I'm rambling.
Well, San Jose State game was fun because we won, and it was an exciting game. Utah State game, we know they're tough, really good, and the Mountain West has been good for a long time, so it's going to be a grind. But you like to win a couple games. You like to score some points. I just want to see an exciting offense. We could play good defense and have an exciting offense. That's not too much to ask for. And I mean, I'm with Bob. He's as a whole, we're just waiting for the season to end mercifully so we can hire a new coach. You hate to say that, and it's not an attack personally at Coach Hutt. It's just if you don't win games, and that's your job is to win games, and it's on to the next one. That's the business.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah, so just some comments on Utah State. In terms of the matchup, their players are much better than our players. Just in terms of scoring ability, they seemed faster. They seemed better prepared. Just all around from the beginning, it was there's no way we're going to win this game. They just have better players. But the Dogs hung around, and they were kind of getting some breaks, but kind of same old story, a lot of turnovers and just not playing crisp, dribbling the ball off your foot and just throwing it away, the easy stuff that shouldn't be happening at this level of basketball. It also doesn't really seem to be an identity for this offense. I mean, Isaiah Pope, I don't think he's the guy that should be taking most of the shots in this offense. I mean, I haven't watched all the games this year, I'll admit. I mean, I watched the last two, though. And he put up 16 points, which I guess was pretty good. I mean, he shot 6 for 10 from the field, which isn't bad. But I just don't think he's the guy that should be the leading scorer here. I mean, I really like Jalen Weaver when he was on the floor. He hardly got any playing time. I like Ducell. I think he's got a nice shot, but I mean, he's also 1 for 6 on the day from threes. So I just don't think there's just not a go-to scorer here. And if you're having to rely on Isaiah Hill to be the main scorer, that's not a good formula. I think he's a really good, one guard who can distribute. He had, I think, 9 or 10 assists, and then he can also put up some buckets too. But if you're relying on him to put up 15 to 20, I don't think there's any way that this team's going to be successful.
Yeah, and from our bigs, Enoch had 0 points.
Yeah.
He had 4 fouls. He got in foul trouble. And he had 7 boards, but you can't have that. And then Andre had 11 points, but 3 boards. Well, if you're going to play 2 bigs, if you're going to start 2 bigs, between the 2 of them, you had 10 rebounds. That's it. That's first, as a coach, that's unacceptable. If I'm a coach, I got to go talk to them. You got to have another scorer. You bring in Ducell to be your shooter. He goes 1 for 6. He hasn't. It really his only good night shooting was at the beginning of the season. He hasn't been able to shoot since. I'm telling. Cole and I have been saying it. Cole mentioned it last podcast. There's this just dark energy coming from that. I guess the sideline. Cole thinks there's an evil spirit on this team, and we got to get rid of it somehow. And especially it comes in, you see it when we're shooting, because Isaiah Hill went 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. 2 for 9 from the floor. Donovan Yap has looked good. He had 12 off the bench, played 22 minutes. I think Tavares finally gets in, only plays 4 minutes, goes 3 for 7 in those 4 minutes, puts up 7 shots, scores 6 points, 2 rebounds. But he had 2 offensive rebounds. I know he forces it a lot, but I love the way he plays. He brings an energy that we just don't have. And I think Jalen Weaver brings the energy as well. He's a little tougher and bigger than Hill and Yap, so he can guard those guards. Leo, he's got to be a threat offensively. He had 5 points and only 1 rebound. He's got to crash the boards and he's got to score. I mean, he should have at least 8 boards a game with 8 or more points, all coming from rebounds, or running the floor hard. That's how Leo's going to he's not going to be a threat behind the 3-point line. It's just not the case. And the fact that Cole and I and you can sit here, figure this stuff out, in 2 hours, and I talk to other people and they're asking the same questions, gets you thinking, what is going on? What is going on? And we know what's going on, and the lack of things going on is very frustrating.
Yeah, I did think it was hilarious that Tavares, I mean, I don't know anything about him, so maybe you can enlighten me, but I mean, he gets in the other game and he just takes the ball and he gets as many shots up as possible, which, I mean, he was 3 for 7, which isn't a great percentage, but he was at least trying, and he was attacking the rim and trying to make plays happen. So that was just kind of funny. So, I mean, what's the deal with him? Is he like, why is I think he's a freshman, right? So he's probably the youngest kid on the team.
Yeah, I love Tavares. He makes things happen. That he forces way too much. But as a player, sitting on the bench, he hasn't been played in a game, I think, for the past 3 or 4 games, and he's got to watch this. Someone's got to step up and score, because you're not going to win games scoring 62 points in the Mountain West. You're just not going to. We're playing against really good offenses, maybe against the San Diego State, but they're better offensively too this year. So you have to score. And the way we run our offense, we are only going to score at the most 70 points. Our defense has to hold a Division I team under 60. And that's the type of defense Hut wants to run. Unfortunately, if you don't develop your players offensively, what was the score against San Diego State last year? Like 38-40, and we lost. That's what that's going to happen when you can't score. You have to be able to score. I think I don't know if you've seen the movie Glory Road, Caleb. Mm-hmm. We talk about this in our family a lot. A coach needs to come in to Fresno State. I think any coach would be happy to walk into the position at Fresno State, looking around. Wow, I have stud athletes. I just got to get them shooting. Let's shoot 500 shots a day, 1,000 shots a day, 500 in the morning, 500 at night, and we're going to hit the weight room in the middle. That's what we're going to do. And what you're going to do is, we're really good at running the floor because you don't have any skill. So you're going to play my game. I'm going to put you in the best position, but you're also going to play your game. I remember that saying. I don't know if you. And then also the other thing that we say a lot is basketball. Nothing has changed in the sport of basketball. You take the ball and you put it in the net. I think it was Coach Rupp that said that. It's Rupp Arena, right? Rupp. You take the ball, you put it in the net. That nothing's changed. That's what basketball is. It's very simple. And we can't do that. We can't. And right now we can't even stop other teams from putting in the net. So anyways, I'll quit rambling. It's very frustrating. I don't think it's a hard fix. And we're just waiting out the contract right now. That's it. So,
and I mean, I think the frustrating thing too is we don't even have a just shooter off the bench that can come in and just hit the corner 3. There has to be a guy. I mean, you look at these Division III teams that they only shoot threes. How come we can't just find 2 guys and they're just lights out from 3? I don't even care if they can't play defense. Let's play a high scoring game and just hit a ton of threes. I feel like that's a better chance or strategy at this point. Let's just see what happens. But then I guess we get games where we're 2 for 20 from threes like last season, and it goes bad. So I don't know. It's just incredibly frustrating. Hopefully something will change in the off season, and we'll have some hope.
The last thing I'll say about 3-point shooting is we don't even shoot the right threes, Caleb. We stand in the corner. We don't force help. So we pass it to them. They have a hand in their face it's a tough shot, right? We're not running them off mini screens. We set a screen, we try, and then they slip, right? They're always slipping. They're not actually like with Andre and Enoch, they should go hammer the dude. Boom, hit him. Ducell come off the screen. Hill come off the screen. Shoot it. That should be half of their shots out of the 1,000 shots or however many shots they're taking. That should be half of them. It's not complicated. The best shooting team in the world, the Golden State Warriors, that everyone learned from, right? And everyone knows this. You move. You don't stand and watch. You got to move. So anyways, I don't know. Makes you question what's going on in that locker room and in the coach's office. Okay, let's get to some positives here. So over the weekend, women's water polo had an event, you could say. It was the Palooza, they call it? Water Polo Palooza? Polo Palooza at Fresno State, and they had the best of the best there. Number 13, Michigan, the girls played. Number 11, UC Davis. They also got to play the number 1 team in the country in Stanford, and they played the number 18 team in the country, San Jose State. So they played 4 ranked opponents. And after that weekend, they're 4-0. That's insane. The girls beat Michigan 11-10. Then they beat UC Davis 18-5. They go on to beat Stanford by 1, 11-10 again. And then they beat San Jose State 11-6. Huge wins in the pool. The girls, we know that we have a good program. Right now, this is the best program on campus, and it's not even close. We need to get out there at Red Wave. We need to get out to the pool and support these girls. They are kicking butt right now. Caleb, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first, it has to be a credit to Coach Benson, who's been a guest on the show with you before, for building a program with culture. Obviously the players are buying in, they're developing and recruiting very well, and they're taking down the biggest teams in the sport. And I think that, it's a process. So if we're going to relate this back to basketball, it's a multi-year process to turn around a program or even start a program. So credit to Coach Benson for doing that and really putting this team together. And it's hard to argue with them for being, top program for the school. If they're knocking off all these ranked opponents. So really exciting. And hopefully, there's some crowd that gets behind them. I don't really know what I've never watched a water polo game, so I'll have to learn the sport, to be honest. But I need to, because this is becoming one of the premier programs at the school, which is awesome. So yeah, really pleased. Hopefully it continues, because obviously this is the first weekend of the season, so I'm sure they have a lot more games ahead of them.
Yeah, as you were saying that, Caleb, I'm thinking that Coach Benson should probably sit down and start teaching the rest of the coaches how to build culture, because building culture takes a couple years. That does, and then bringing in players. Football, it's a little different. Things are a little different, but Benson has done a great job, and she is legit. You go listen. We talked to her, 2 years ago, a year ago. I was going to run through a brick wall for her. The way she carries herself, the way she talks about the game and her girls, I love it. Coach Benson is awesome. We have something really special there. We've known that, but it's really fun, and I'm so happy for them to see this success. Their next games on the schedule are in Hawaii. So they play 3 games in Hawaii: Azusa Pacific, Princeton, and Hawaii. Then they go to the Triton Invite. That's February 4th. Then they get Fresno Pacific and Whittier College, February 16th and February 17th. Those are the next games in Fresno, at Fresno State at the Aquatic Center. February 16th, that's a Friday at 6 p.m. They play Fresno Pacific. That's a fun game. The local schools, they're in quite a few like invitationals, I would say. Then they go to Irvine, and then they start their league, the GCC. I think was it the Golden Coast Conference, I believe.
Sounds right.
Okay. The next like big game, they play Cal Baptist March 9th at noon, which is a Saturday. So I believe most of their games are on Saturdays. Yeah, they're once they get to league play, it's pretty quick. Starts March 9th, ends April 20th, and then they get to conference championships and the postseason. But next game in Fresno is February 16th. That's a Friday at 6 p.m. at Fresno State, and then they play that next Saturday, February 17th at 11:30 a.m. against Whittier. So should be a lot of fun. They get to go on some fun trips there and hopefully kick some more. But huge weekend for the girls. Congratulations. So happy for you guys. Keep working hard. Coach Benson, keep kicking butt. Bulldogs Bob says they deserve more attention. They might win the school's next national championship. I believe it. I think, actually, Caleb, I think you and I picked them to win the next national championship about a year ago. I remember this conversation. So, Stanford, right, Bob, Stanford is defending national champion. So, and currently ranked number 1 in the nation. Huge weekend for them. So, really excited. Anything else, Caleb, that we should cover here after a month being off? Or we are now going to be going weekly. We'll be going on Mondays at 7 from here on out. Anything on your mind, Caleb?
Well, I think we just about hit the highlights that we missed from the last month. I know it was good to see on Instagram and Twitter today. It looks like the football workouts were in full swing, so there's some content on there. So that's just good to see the guys get in the weight room, getting stronger. Got a big matchup here in August against the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines. So that's a big opportunity there. And I mean, still 7 months until football season. So that's tough, but we'll find plenty of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back at it again. And I'll hopefully we'll see how things go when the baby comes and Mr. Pelletier becomes a dad, and see the dark rings under his eyes, and as he talks to us, and we can get Jackson on to talk recruiting class. I know he's got to talk to some of the boys coming in, so we'll bring him on and we can talk. That would be really good for all of us. And Cole and I are going to still be going with basketball, and every time Caleb sees a game, we will make sure to bring in Caleb as well. And then baseball season is going to be here before you know it, starting in February. So we'll touch on baseball in the coming weeks, and hopefully we can bring you some baseball content because we have some good players, really good players on that baseball team. That I'm really excited. I'm excited. All this rain and everything. I'm ready for a sunny day at the ballpark with a hot dog, cheering on the dogs, man. I can't wait.
That sounds good.
All right, brother. Thank you. Thank you guys for supporting us as always. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. And as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.